In slow motion, we're just floating. So I in slow motion, we're just floating.
Good afternoon, true crimers. Hey, Cindy. I put a little video together of that beautiful face. She's so beautiful. So sad. So sad. about what happened to her and how nobody even protected her. And we can all say that because she was not protected. She was not. I don't care what anybody says. That girl should have never been in a room with two boys, especially when they were told that the older one was harassing her. Like, I don't get it. I just don't. And I personally think these parents, this dad, should be held accountable also. I had just been thinking about it all night, about how I was going to go about this video. And I truly, truly believe that these parents should also be brought up on charges, knowing that this kid was harassing Anna. No, she should not have been in that room. She should have never, ever have been in that room. That little girl should still be here taking pictures, pissing her mom off, whatever she did on a daily basis, still doing that. You know? Yes. You know, just like the school outings, the crumblies, these parents should also be held reliable for this child's death, in my opinion only. This is my opinion, and I have a right to my opinion. I just, it's so upsetting knowing that beautiful face is no longer on this earth. Oh no, not her bio mom. You know, we all have our problems. I was not the best mom by any means of the word, best mom. No, I was not. I kind of put myself in Anna's mom's shoes, Anna's real mom. And this dad of hers, I mean, how many wives? And then he was brought up on actual assault of a minor and then married the girl. Tabitha, is that what her name was? Tabitha? Come on, something's not right in this family dynamic. And in my opinion, I should put up there, these are my opinions. I think I have a banner. I don't, but I should have one, shouldn't I? Let me write one up real quick. If I spelled opinions right. Okay. Because who knows? Who knows? I just put these are my opinions. Did I spell opinions right? But I just threw together a few videos. I made that video so people aren't thinking I'm just constantly using other people's work. But isn't that what? Yes, Dad. Okay, so they had a babysitter, him and his second wife. Yeah, because this girl became his third wife. So they had a babysitter, and he was doing things. You know what? I'll find the video to confirm it. But yes, and then he married her when she turned 18. And then they were together for many, many years and had 2 boys together. So, my God, the family dynamic is just wild. I would love to go on one of these cruises, but I don't think there's enough lorazepam in this world to get me on one after what happened to her. I know it was something, that a family member did, but it happens all the time. Like, you're hearing it all the time. Oh, okay. Thank you. I will revise my. Okay. I don't feel like redoing it, but I found this video. What's this? Oh my God. I'm getting it, but it's playing already. Hold on. I just don't know. I just feel like she would really be here right now had someone watched her. Had someone cared enough to keep their eyes on this 18-year-old, but they weren't. Okay, let me share. I forgot you guys probably want to watch it too. Well, yeah. And I know something's going on with my computer. I do know that something's, yeah. I think it's because of the weather. But I think she had no alcohol. She had no drugs in her system. She had nothing. But she always seemed to have pretty long nails. Unless he got her while she was sleeping, because the whole thing is she had gotten her braces tightened before they went on the cruise ship. And the rubber bands that they had put on were causing her a lot of discomfort. And that's why she excused herself that night from the dinner table and went back up to lay down. So she must have, maybe it was keeping her up at night and she just passed out sleeping already. And he came in there and got her while she was sleeping. That's the only way he could have, because there's no way he's going to take her down. Not with them nails. My God, he'd be all scratched up. And I don't recall anybody saying he did. All right, let's see what they say here.
Najam here, senior partner and founder of Najam Law and a trial attorney, to help discuss all of this a little bit further, what we know and what is still left to figure out. Mark, good morning. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Good morning. Good to see you.
All right, so the first question I did want to ask you here is about the limited information that we have from the FBI. They have not said much here. A lot of the information we have is actually coming from the court documents.
Well, we already know the FBI ain't going to say anything. We already know this.
Documents for an unrelated custody case. Does that tell us anything about the investigation as a whole?
Well, actually, it's telling us that they're doing it appropriately. When there's a pending investigation, it's almost always will the investigators not release any information. Why? They don't want to tip off anybody. They don't want any evidence destroyed or covered up or changed. So until an investigation is complete, it's protocol simply not to allow any information to come out. So they're doing the right thing because they're obviously waiting on some test results to come back. They're still conducting some measure of investigation. From all that we know, it sounds like there's going to be a decision or an arrest made relatively soon. But right now, they're following protocol.
I want to ask you kind of your take here as a legal expert there. What kind of information of what we do know has stood out to you so far?
Well, the videos are going to suggest who came in and out of that room. And from all that we understand right now, and it's always dangerous to speculate, but from what we understand, there was only one person, and that was.
And that's the thing, is they do. Yeah, please turn the video. Oh, sorry, I'll turn it down. I had to use the restroom real quick. So, oh gosh, I forgot what I was gonna say. I can't remember, but if it comes back to me, I'll come back.
It was her stepbrother who came in and came out. So therefore,
oh yeah, that's right. So the mother to the stepbrother, they stepped off the cruise ship and they immediately take him to a mental hospital, right? Now that's a mom trying to save their son from the inevitable. Like, you know what's about to come to that boy. Why are we trying to stop it? Is what I was thinking. Is we know that they are going to get him, but they did talk to him and he said, I don't remember anything. I don't remember what happened. I don't remember. That's what the mom said. The stepmom to Anna.
it puts the two of them there. The bigger issue is going to be whether this was an intentional act or an accidental act. The report that came in from the medical examiner said that this was mechanical asphyxiation. Now, that can be anything. I looked at some other reports and there's rumors flying. We don't know what that means at this point. It could be a compression on the chest where someone was sitting on a chest. It could be strangulation. It could be suffocation with a hand over the mouth and the nose. So mechanical asphyxiation could be one of many things. I think they're waiting on the test results to come back. The DNA in this case is not going to be particularly helpful unless there was some type of offensive or defensive wounds that maybe where there were skin particles underneath a nail or something along those lines. But typical things such as hair and skin scrapings, you're going to have that. The two of them shared a cabin. So you're going to have those natural DNA that are going to be there, which are going to be less helpful in a situation like this. The key is going to be what happened and why did it happen, and then having an airtight case against the suspect.
And we do know that the victim is 18 years old, still a teenager there, but the suspect, according to those court documents, could potentially be that 16-year-old stepbrother. So we're talking about a juvenile. How does a case like this involving a juvenile?
Yeah, I'll show you. They're gonna have well, yeah. Hold on, we'll finish this out and then we'll go to that video.
Kind of factor into how the case plays out, but also what information can be released.
I think it's a great question, simply because as a juvenile, one is normally charged in juvenile court. It's up to the state attorney whether to elevate those charges and charge somebody as an adult. I think that's part of the reason that they're going to be doing really a thorough investigation here, because with the death of a young woman and 18 years old, you don't want to typically charge a 16-year-old as a juvenile. So if you're going to upgrade the charges to adult court, then you really want to make sure that you've got all the evidence there. Because remember, like almost every homicide, this is a circumstantial case. Rare is it that you have an eyewitness to a homicide. And so therefore, all the pieces need to add up, because this is a circumstantial case. Only two people were in that room, presumably, and the investigators want to go ahead.
Well, there was 3 people at one time. Okay. So remember the woman that I told you that the dad had married after she turned 18, but he was having an affair with before? Okay. One of their sons was there. And then Anna's stepbrother, the one that her dad's married to now. Those were the 2 boys that were in the room at one time with Anna. Yeah. Anna, I don't believe, has any natural siblings. Like Amy doesn't have, like, she has step or half. She has half siblings. She don't have any step siblings. She has half siblings from her dad. But no, yeah, this would be from her dad. So these would be half brother, and then a step brother was in the room. Hey, Sheila, if you want to come up, you can. We can talk about this case if you want. Okay, so it was the half brother from the woman that he married after she turned 18. They had 2 boys together. One was on the ship, and then the stepbrother from the woman that he's married to now, that's from a different man. Okay, so they were the only 2 that were in the room with Anna at the time that this happened, but the half brother left the room. So, okay, let's
make sure they've got all their ducks in a row.
And of course, as you said, the fact that not a lot of details have been released by the FBI shows that they're doing a thorough investigation, and that's what should happen. But what key questions or question do you have that you hope maybe investigators will answer soon?
Well, we need to know how the asphyxiation took place. And I think that's critical. If in fact there was a strangulation with hands around the throat, that's pretty significant. We want to find out if there was.
So another thing is she did have, I believe, 2 bruises on her neck, on the sides of her neck. I don't know if the 2 bruises were on one neck or if they were one was on one neck and one was on the other side. I don't know. I don't think they ever specified. They just said she had bruising on her neck, 2 bruises. So I'm assuming fingers, maybe. Just my opinion.
The compression on the chest that somebody was sat on. There's going to be the defenses in a case like this would typically go to be that it was accidental, that it was self-defense. Those would be the type of defenses that would normally take place. So I think that the authorities are going to want to eliminate those as best as they're able to in anticipation of a defense in that regard. Because if there's only 2 people in the room and one person ended up dead, sadly, then they want to be able to, by process of elimination, eliminate some of those other areas. There's also other areas that have come out. And we hate to speculate with such a tragic death, but there's been some reports that there was some sort of infatuation or obsession with the stepbrother over Anna. And they want to check into that because then you get into issues such as motive or the crimes of passion. 80% of homicides are crimes of passion, friends and family. It's not somebody going out there randomly killing somebody. So I think they want to get all that information together, question all the potential witnesses and people who understood, witnesses being people who understood the relationship, and then have their case presented.
I don't think the half-brother had anything to do with it. I think he was out of the room because if I can remember right, he had made a statement that he was trying to get back into the room, but could not get into the room. So
when you talk about a case like this that is receiving national attention, international attention, it's been in many different online sources, like People Magazine spoke with the father of the victim here, who said that he wants the stepbrother to be charged. Again, a lot of different information coming out. It's shared all over.
What did he just say? Hang on a second. I got to rehear that.
Sources like People Magazine spoke with the father of the victim here, who said that he wants the stepbrother to be charged. Again, a lot of different information.
I got to see that because I don't recall. I've never heard that the dad. So I wonder how his wife feels. He seems to be so into these women. No, just the stepbrother. I believe just the stepbrother. Yeah, just sick.
Coming out, it's shared all over social media, and not all of it is true. What sort of role does that play? Does that make it more difficult as the legal process does play out?
Well, there's a difference between a court and the court of public opinion. And the court of public opinions can drive cases, but they're not going to control a case. So in a situation like this, I think the the father of Anna was very strategic and appropriate in his responses. Yes, it's a challenging situation. You've got this blended family, and now you've got your daughter who's been killed, and then you've got the son as a suspect. So this is a stepson as a suspect. So you've got a horrific situation going on. People want to hold on to hope, and there's often a lot of denial in situations like this. Normal dynamics, normal psychological and emotional dynamics. So I think that it's best that they simply.
Could you stay married to a woman whose son killed your daughter like this? Oh, God, no. No. Never. She'd be her and all her kids. Yes. Less than a year. I wonder how long. But how long were they together living as one in a house with Anna, the stepbrother? And how long was Anna having to deal with the stepbrother? They're saying that she would go over to a friend's house to stay the night because she was so tired of him coming into her room. Yeah.
Say they want justice served, and then wait for the investigators to complete their investigation.
My final question here. What do we have to be watching for in the coming hours, days, weeks, even months as the case plays out?
Well, we want to make sure that all the test results come back in. The DNA labs typically take a while. So even though I think that the DNA will likely play a less important role in this case, as it may in some others, we don't know, because we simply don't know what they did. We don't know if there were scrapings under a fingernail, as I mentioned earlier. We don't know if there was hair missing or it was pulled out. We don't know any of those things right now. And so they need to get all that information, and we need to get the test results, because those are going to be the breadcrumbs that lead us to the final place, is putting all those pieces together. Because once again, like every circumstantial case, nobody was there to eyewitness it, and apparently the young man didn't make any statements afterwards. So now it's going to be a matter of putting the forensic information together and then present it appropriately.
All right, Mark, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us and break it all down. Anything we missed, anything that you want to add here before I let you go?
I think you did a great job. And I think you've covered as much as that can be covered right now. But I think then we look at the next chapter that's going to be unfolding. And I do anticipate that'll be relatively soon. I think that in all likelihood, and lab results take a long time typically, unless there's a real rush put on them. And because of the publicity, maybe that is happening. But typically, the labs are very, very, very busy in Florida. And we wait a long time often to get the discovery from the labs. So that could just simply be one thing that's holding us back right now. Although it's a federal investigation, we don't know if I don't know which labs they got sent to. Oftentimes there's collaboration between state and feds in a situation like this. But
so dad and stepmom got married December 2024.
We understand the feds have been investigating it. And then we have to take a look at jurisdictionally. There were some questions initially where it would land, but clearly that because this was ported in Florida, it's the United States flag on the ship. United States has jurisdiction, and then where it lands, we'll find out.
Chantel is the woman that he married after she turned 18. No, Chantel's the wife now. Yeah. Yes, you are right. Yeah, there was a babysitter that he was with and was charged. Hang on, let's find those videos. Hold on.
I do want to bring in Mark Najim here, senior partner and founder.
Well, come on, jump, Leah. I keep forgetting I have to stop sharing to get back to the... I'm not sure what this is going to say, but let's hear what this guy says. Jump, Leah. I'm not going to tell you no more. Ugh.
Another top story we're continuing to follow as a stepbrother is now front and center in the death investigation of an 18-year-old high school student who died on a Carnival cruise ship. Let's be joined right now by Madison Scarpino in Atlanta with the latest on this mystery. What more can you tell us? What's the next step in this process?
Hey, Auntie Mac. Well, yeah, the 16-year-old stepbrother was sharing a cruise cabin with the victim, Anna Kepner, and that's also where her body was found. Well, in an interview with ABC News, Anna's grandparents say that the FBI told them she died from asphyxiation. And the grandparents, who were also on the family cruise, say the FBI is exploring the possibility it was caused by a so-called bar hold, which is a type of chokehold with an arm around the neck. But investigators and the medical examiner are staying quiet right now. ABC asked the grandparents if they think the stepbrother had anything to do with Anna's death, and here's what they say.
I mean, he was in a room with her. He was the only one seen coming and going. So I can't accuse him because I don't know what happened in that room. But the summation would be that he did something.
The grandmother also saying the stepson told her he did not remember what happened the night of Anna's death. And she also says that he was a, quote, emotional mess while interviewing with the FBI. We learned through a court motion filed last week in the stepmom's custody case that her teen son is considered to be a suspect in Anna's death, and he could soon be facing charges. Now, this all comes after a housekeeper discovered the cheerleader's lifeless body shoved under a bed in the cabin earlier this month, reportedly wrapped in a blanket and covered by life jackets.
Cruise ships are loaded with cameras. They have cameras everywhere. We may not have cameras in the room, but we're going to know at the time of death. We're going to know who was with her at the death.
And we have reached out to the attorneys for both Anna's stepmother and her father and are waiting to hear back. Back to you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay. My computer is moving so slow. Sorry. This might be interesting. Oh, no, we can't. They'll strike me. I don't know who these people are. It looked good. I'm trying to find the one with the stepmom and the stepmom. Okay, well, here, this is the court.
Also tracking new details in the investigation into the death of Anna Kepner, the 18-year-old Titusville teenager who was found dead on board a Carnival cruise ship earlier this month. It's still a lot of questions about that because the FBI at this point has still been very quiet. No official word about what is going on in that case. And so we are continuing to get some more information from other.
Oh, I didn't think about that, Cindy, but she sure ain't talking. Yeah, man, I'd quit and like start talking. I'd be like getting interviews, making money. Oh yeah, that's just me though.
Legal sources, court documents, and other cases, that family court case that we have had gotten a number of interesting details about, including that was where we got the first indication that the 16-year-old stepbrother of Anna Kepner was the suspect in this case. Well, today we are now also getting our first look at the death certificate for Anna Kepner. And some.
Just so you know that the stepmom has taken the fifth, has pleaded the fifth. So she's not talking.
New details coming from that as well. Let me see here. Trying to bring in Fox 35's Esther Bauer. I'm not sure if she is able to hear me right now. Esther, are you able to hear me before I kind of pull you up here? She cannot hear me. Okay, so we will have to work on that and check back in just a little bit. But let me go ahead and pull up that death certificate for you. Fox News obtained this. You can find out more about it on foxnews.com. We also have more information on fox35orlando.com. What you're going to see in this death certificate, and obviously the personal information has been redacted, but one thing we have learned from it is that her body has been cremated after her death. What we don't know, though, the public document, which is what this.
I always thought, but this could just be Iowa. But when I watched the Henry Dinkins case, the whole case, they did not release Breasia's remains until after he was convicted and sent to prison. Then her mom got her remains and she had been cremated. Maybe that's just Iowa, but that's a really good. Oh yeah, I'm trying to find the one with the lawyer where I don't know if you've seen it. I'm going to play it, and if you've seen it, just tell me and we'll find something different. Okay?
Does not include how she died. Still no manner of death, still no cause of death. And so there are.
Remember, I'm still learning here. I'm trying to figure out how to maneuver all this. Hold on.
There's still a lot of questions surrounding that as the investigation continues. Now I can bring in Fox 35's Esther Bauer, who is joining us live now via Zoom. And Esther, we appreciate you joining us here on Florida Live as we've discussed. Continuing to pour over these court documents that give us just little bits of information at a time, and that's just kind of the way that this has all been going over these past couple of weeks.
Yes, and we might get some more information because newly filed today in this unrelated family court case between Anna's stepmother and the stepmother's ex. Now, in that custody battle, they are wanting Anna's stepfather to testify in that case. So this is not super normal because, again, this stepmother is divorcing from a different ex. It's not necessarily common to bring in a new spouse into this unrelated custody battle. But now when you have a custody battle and then you throw in the wrinkle of someone within that custody battle being possibly charged and accused of murdering another family member, this lawyer for the ex-husband is going to want as many people as they can find that could throw a wrench into the mother being fit to care for the other children. So what we are hearing from people that are tracking this case is that the attorney for the ex is wanting this new husband of the stepmother to become part of this case because he wants to prove the stepmom is not fit to care for the other children if this alleged possible.
Oh, I agree. I totally agree. That stepmother should not have any of them children. Not after what happened here. She obviously doesn't care for them children. Okay. I'm going to be quiet.
Murder took place under
I'm gonna be
her
quiet.
watch with her 16-year-old son. So that is the latest development that we are tracking in this case. Not sure what's going to happen, but the criminal defense lawyer that we spoke with said it is likely we will get more details from what was going on that cruise. Where were the parents?
I want to jump in and start today with some new court documents filed in the Anna Kepner case. And again, this is another one of those instances, just like we had last week, where we are learning more details about the investigation into the Titusville teen's death from an unrelated case in a completely separate division of court. I want to bring in Fox 35's Esther Bauer, who has been watching this case closely, been looking over all of these documents. And Esther, new filings again from this a custody dispute that continued to shed more light on the investigation into the death of the teen on board a cruise ship.
Absolutely. Yes. This is an unrelated divorce custody battle from a previous marriage. This is relating to the mother of the stepson. And again, the stepson is the one the FBI has been honing in on, and the one we're seeing more details coming out that this stepson could be linked to what happened to this Titusville teen. Some points of note in these documents, which I have in front of me right now, if I flip the camera, is it's taking this stepson going from a suspect in Anna Kepner's death to now the stepson being a suspect in Anna Kepner's murder. So the language in this document has changed, as well as in this document, it talks about wanting a free and fair trial for this stepson if any criminal charges are filed. So we're just seeing the language change. Earlier on, as we have been reporting on for weeks, Anna Kepner died back on November 7th. Since then, the ME, the FBI, have been silent. So there were questions. How did this teen die? We still have not been able to confirm, but now through these other documents, we're seeing that case, at least from this legal team involved, leaning towards a possible murder and possibly charges being filed. The big takeaway also from this document, and why it was even filed in the first place, is the stepmom's legal team is trying to ban the press and the public from any more of this unrelated family court case becoming public. They want a gag order put on this case. So all these documents that we've been pouring through, all the information that's allowed the public to learn more about what happened to this teen, they want that case sealed. So a judge here in Brevard County is going to make that ultimate call. But as we've been speaking with some legal sources, they are saying family court cannot tell criminal court what to do. And it's a very slippery slope for judges to make the call of, we're going to seal this case, we're going to stop the press, we're going to stop the public from knowing about these documents, when
I got lost in about 6 screens, Cindy. I couldn't figure out which one I was playing. Yes, I agree that, and they did not put the gag order on. That was denied. Um, uh, but I don't know why that one is not playing. There we go. That's the one I'm on.
In this room.
Jeez.
Those are questions we think this father is going to be asked. Again, the father we're speaking of is Anna's biological father. So he's going to be asked questions like this. And unfortunately, as we're talking about this unrelated family matter battle, divorces, when it comes to kids, when it comes to visitation, when it comes to family court, these cases are already hard and dirty and not necessarily easy to go through. But then when you throw in, this murder and the FBI and a stepson, it just takes it to a different place. So what this ex is trying to do is trying to paint his ex, the stepmom, in the worst light, using anything that they can from this developing criminal situation, trying to get the other minor children out of her care and to be put into his care. So that's what we're tracking. I know you had that death certificate document. Still no updates from the ME, still no updates from the FBI. But as you started to say, just trickling in, we're getting new details on this case still from that unrelated family court battle. And again, we're tracking the case closely. Still no word on whether or not the judge involved is going to put that gag order, is going to seal the case. If that were to happen, the upcoming court hearing, which is slated for December 5th, that could be totally closed off. Press public ban. As of now, nothing's been filed. So this, where we could see the father have to share his side of the story or answer questions on what happened, is slated for December 5th.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that gag order that we talked about yesterday, because that is a notable piece here while we wait on that, because this testimony that the father is now being subpoenaed to show up and provide. We don't know how much of it we may get to hear, or what more may come of that. So certainly something that we're watching closely. Well, Fox 35's Esther Bauer, we appreciate.
Okay. Let's find what we were looking for in the first place. I want to show I think they might have taken it down. The court case that they had on. Nope, here it is. I don't know if it's going to play the whole thing.
Carnival cruise ship.
Miss
Hudson, or is it Miss Kepner?
Miss Kepner.
For the first time, her stepmother appearing on camera in a custody court hearing involving Anna's stepbrother, whose parents and lawyers now say is a suspect in Anna's death.
There's apparently an FBI investigation ongoing in the death of the stepchild, an 18-year-old daughter.
In that hearing, an attorney revealing the minor was hospitalized after Anna's death and is now living with a third party. He has not been arrested or charged.
Although in an unrelated family hearing, it did come out that the mother is identifying the stepbrother as a suspect, there are many questions still remaining that have to be filled in.
Investigators trying to determine the cause of Anna's death. Miami-Dade's medical examiner and FBI seen collecting evidence after her cruise ship arrived back on shore. A security source telling ABC News Anna's body was found in her cabin on the morning of November 7th under the bed, wrapped in a blanket and covered with life vests. She was on the Carnival Horizon with her father, stepmother, and younger step-siblings. Carnival says they are fully cooperating with the FBI. And overnight, her community gathering to celebrate the high school senior's life. So many questions. ABC News did reach out to Anna's parents, her stepmother, and her stepmother's lawyer. We have not heard back yet, but investigators are still awaiting autopsy and toxicology results.
So I think they took down that hearing because they had the whole hearing on here, unless someone else can find it. I don't see it. Or I'm just not looking in the right place. Brian Etten has a lot. I mean, he's a really good news reporter. I like him. That was 6 days ago. I kind of want to find something a little sooner. I mean, or it's just going to keep repeating itself, the same thing over and over and over. This was 3 days ago. I like this guy. But we're not going to listen about Morgan and Morgan. Do you know how many times I've listened to that thing?
Brother, a boy whose family says that he is a suspect in her death. Now, Kepner's death is now reportedly a homicide, according to ABC News. That outlet has said that her family told them that she died of a bar hold.
Okay, so if it's considered a murder now, why has this child not been arrested and placed in a juvenile home? Instead of having him around other family members, possibly children. You don't know. They think this was a one-time isolated incident, that he's not going to hurt anybody else. That's what they're saying. No, he needs to be in a juvenile home awaiting his court case for these charges that they say that he is the suspect for. Ugh. So that's saying to other kids out there, other minors, oh, I can go out and commit a crime and just admit myself, and then they're going to put me in my aunt's house. In my opinion only, I have my right to my opinion. But isn't it? That's just telling other kids that you can do this and not have to worry about it. Oh, God. Morgan and Morgan. All right, here, let's listen. This is the newest.
Someone reportedly putting their arm across her neck, strangling her to death. Now, that person, according to her own family, may be her 16-year-old stepbrother. That boy is the biological son of Anna's stepmom, whose name is Chantel Hudson, also now Chantel Kepner, because she is married to Anna's biological dad. Now, Anna's grandparents say there were a total of 9 family members on this Carnival cruise, on the ship.
Because I still have to determine cause. And what's that other word I don't remember?
The Horizon, which is a 4,000 passenger ship that left Miami.
You know, this case just really upsets me. Cindy, did you watch the video of the boyfriend give an interview? I got to go use the bathroom, and then maybe you've answered by the time I get back.
Miami for a 6-day cruise to multiple stops in the Caribbean. Her grandparents said that the cruise, it was supposed to be a new tradition for this blended family that was brought together by Anna's dad and Anna's stepmom. Now, one of the stepmom's kids is a 16-year-old boy. He's a minor, so we're not naming him. And if he's ever charged in this case, if he's ever tried as an adult, that could change. I'm going to talk about how all of that could happen in just a moment, how likely it would be if there are charges filed in this case. And at the time of this recording, charges haven't been filed, but how likely would it be if a minor's charged that they would be tried as an adult? Now, just a reminder, as we do get into the reported details of this story, that the FBI hasn't really said a word publicly beyond confirming that they are investigating a death on board the cruise ship. Now, here's the new information that we do have. You're taking a look reportedly at the death certificate for Anna Kepner. This was obtained by Fox News. It does not list her cause of death, but it says that her body has been cremated. Now, her memorial service was held last week in Titusville, Florida, which is east of Orlando. That is where Anna Kepner grew up. Now, it is believed that Anna's 16-year-old stepbrother is a suspect because that information came out of his parents' attorney's mouth.
The older child, who was approximately 16 years of age, is a suspect in the death of the stepchild, an 18-year-old daughter that was in the same room.
Now, that's a moment from a custody hearing in Florida involving Kepner's stepmom and her ex-husband. This hearing, this custody dispute that's been going on for a year, is not related to Anna Kepner's death, but there's been information coming out of that hearing related to her death. The attorney for the stepmom's ex-husband said that he was told that the 16-year-old is a suspect in Kepner's case. Now, in their ABC News interview, Anna Kepner's grandparents also said for the first time what the 16-year-old reportedly told them after Anna's body was found on board the ship. Now, as far as how the final days of Anna's life played out, according to family members, it went something like this. On November 6th, which is one of the final days that this cruise was still out on the water, Anna was not feeling well. Her grandparents said she apparently had braces, they were bothering her, so she called it an early night. Now that brings us to November 7th. The next day, the Kepners get up for breakfast, everybody gets together, but Anna didn't show. Her grandfather said he actually was getting bingo cards, and that's when he heard over the loudspeaker that there was a medical emergency announcement, and they said the room number. And he said his heart kind of had that moment because the room number is one that he recognized. Now, around 11 o'clock that morning, the Daily Mail says a maid entered Anna's stateroom, and that's when the horrifying discovery was made. Anna's body allegedly was found wrapped in a blanket, covered over with life jackets, stuffed under a bed. ABC News said that she had been strangled. An arm allegedly across her neck had killed her. Now, there was reportedly no evidence of sexual assault, and there also is no evidence of drugs or alcohol in her system, according to this ABC News report. The ship returned to Miami on November 8th. Kepner.
Okay, so what confuses me? Did he go in this room after the half-brother left with intentions of thinking Anna wanted the same thing he wanted, but in an actual manner? Because my first theory is that she had been sleeping. So was he touching her? Was he doing things to her that he shouldn't have been? And she woke up, and that's when he did the bar hold on her because she wasn't quite awake yet, and it was easy to subdue her. I don't know. My opinion. My opinion only.
Her body was taken off of the ship. It was transported to the medical examiner's office in Miami-Dade County. This is video of her body being taken off of the ship. It was shot by WSVN TV reporter Sheldon Fox. Now, according to that death certificate per Fox News, Kepner's date of death is listed as November 7th. Now, there is a separate death certificate that ABC News says that they have obtained from a family member of Anna Kepner that has a date of injury listed as November 6th. Now, again, investigators haven't provided the public with a timeline of Anna Kepner's death. Now, what Anna's relationship was with her stepbrother, that seems to be up for debate. Now, the dad of her ex-boyfriend told Inside Edition that the stepbrother was, quote, obsessed with Anna, that she was scared of him, quote, because he always carried around a big knife. He also said that his son once saw the stepbrother go into Kepner's room during a FaceTime call, quote, when she was sleeping and get on top of her.
Okay, why was this mother allowing a 16-year-old to carry around a big knife? Where is he putting it? Did he carry a bag? Did he have a bag that he had it in? That was another thing that confused me. Why? Okay, and...
End quote. And he also said, quote, he's like infatuated, attracted to her like crazy. He always wanted to date her. Now, the dad said all of this to Inside Edition. Now, the ex-boyfriend also told that media outlet that Anna was so afraid of her stepbrother that she actually slept at friends' houses just to get away from the kid. That narrative, it's concerning, but it's very different from how Anna's grandparents have characterized her relationship with her 16-year-old stepbrother.
This is crazy.
Now, those grandparents told ABC News that Anna and the stepbrother, they had a real brother-sister type relationship, that it went really well. In fact, they characterized them as two peas in a pod. On this cruise, Anna was reportedly sharing a room with that stepbrother. And according to what Anna's ex...
I don't believe that for a minute. I don't believe that for a minute. I believe that they are saying that to justify the reason that their son's daughter was murdered by the woman's allegedly murdered by his new wife's son. Why would they even say that? That is just wrong on something. My grandma, if my daughter was to pass away by my husband's son, and they were to say, oh, they were like two peas in a pod, I would punch my grandparents right in the face. Why would you say that? Obviously, they were not. He was chasing her around with like a crazy animal, according to the boyfriend.
Boyfriend told Inside Edition Anna's biological brother, who was also on the cruise, he had tried to get into the stateroom that they were all staying in, but it was locked. Anna's brother says that Anna and the stepbrother, that they were inside that room when it was locked. And according to Inside Edition, he could hear yelling, including the stepbrother, saying something along the lines of, quote, shut the hell up. He also says that he heard some banging in that room. Now, the grandparents told ABC News that investigators say the only person who was seen going into that stateroom where Anna was found dead was the stepbrother. Now, Anna's grandparents say that every member.
But the kids are going to act better in front of grandparents, and they are without any adults around. And that doesn't mean she wasn't afraid of his ass. Exactly. And you know, I know of a situation. I won't say if it's mine, or I won't say whose it is. And this person was in a really bad DV relationship. Really, really bad. And the husband to the girl was calling her daughter the N-word and was just horribly, horribly mean to her. And the mom left. The mom left the situation, but it took a little bit. Not because she didn't want to leave. It's because she had nowhere to go. I mean, she just didn't have anywhere to go. But the friend went and stayed with another friend until the mom got her own apartment and stuff. And then the girl came and lived. But this dad should have never have had this girl in this situation, knowing that this was going on, because the boyfriend to Anna, the dad, even went and talked to the parents about how the stepson was acting towards Anna. And they did nothing about it. And I understand that sometimes we avoid things that we don't see. You know, like if we don't see it for ourselves, it's not happening, right? It's not happening. And then things like this happen. And then now we got to figure it out and save our asses. She may also have felt okay with being in that room with him because her half-brother was in it too. You know, I think Anna was a people pleaser. She tried so hard sometimes, I think, to even please her mother, that it's hard to see it. But I think she set out to please her grandparents and wanting them to have this family trip every year, to make this one trip be so perfect, you know. And then look what happened. I hope she wanted to be in that same room, or if she was just forced to be in the room. We like to think that that's the way it was. But sometimes we're trying to please everybody, you know?
Member of the family was questioned after the girl's body was found. The stepson reportedly said that he doesn't remember the details of what happened inside of the room. And according to ABC, the 16-year-old said, quote, in his own words, says he does not remember what happened. That is according to Anna's grandma. She told ABC News she actually believes the boy, period. Now, she also says the boy was hospitalized for a psychiatric evaluation once the ship returned to port.
December 1st at 9 a.m. Can I speak? He has a psychiatrist appointment on December 1st. Ma'am, just a second. Hold on. I want you to be able to talk with your attorney before you speak. If she says it's okay for you to speak, okay. I'm okay with that, but I think you need to run that by her first.
Now, another moment from that separate custody hearing related to Anna's stepmom is when she spoke up about the boy receiving mental health treatment, that he had a psychiatrist appointment on the calendar. Now, at the time of this recording, it is still unclear if anyone's been charged in connection to Kepner's death. The FBI has not said much. We've been unable to confirm the details that have been reported in the media about Anna's death because the FBI has not said anything beyond the fact that they are investigating the case. And to be clear, we're not naming this 16-year-old boy the stepbrother of Anna Kepner because he is a minor. We're not showing you his picture either. But if he is charged, if his name is released, if he is tried as an adult, all of that could change, and we can dive more into what we know about him. We did reach out to Carnival Cruise Lines for a statement. They have not said much either. Beyond going, quote, the death of a guest traveling on the Carnival Horizon voyage that returned to Port Miami on Saturday morning, November 8th, is being investigated by the FBI. Since this is an ongoing matter under the jurisdiction of law enforcement, it is up to the FBI's Miami Public Affairs Office to provide further details. Our focus is on supporting the family of our guest. The custody case involving Anna Kepner's stepmom is expected to next be in court on December 5th. Anna's biological dad could testify at that hearing. Anna's stepmom said that she would have to invoke potentially her Fifth Amendment rights if she were called to testify. Her attorney said in a previous hearing that she's been cleared of any wrongdoing. The FBI has not said anything about that. Joining us now is the former...
I don't understand why she's invoking her Fifth Amendment right. You know, what her son did, allegedly, in my opinion, if he did this, he needs to step up to it. Well, obviously, they didn't believe him, and unfortunately, they were wrong, and it cost them this young girl's life. Yes, I seriously doubt she wanted to be in there with them, but they were presented as the only option, which again is wrong in my opinion. They would have been better off putting the two girls together. Yes, Anna could have cared for that little girl at night when they slept. This all could have been avoided. This all could have been avoided.
Former state attorney for Palm Beach County, Florida, Dave Ehrenberg. Always great to have you on Law and Crime, especially this one happening not too far down the way from where you are in Miami. For a lot of people, I think where you see the information that's coming out from the family, her cause of death, even the stepbrother's own dad's attorney saying that he's a suspect in this case. One of the questions, and I have it too, is just why is it taking the FBI so long, it seems, to actually charge someone in connection to Anna Kepner's death?
Chris, good to be with you. This kid is not going anywhere, and so the FBI realizes that there's no sense of super urgency because statute of limitations is not expiring. He's not flying out of the country and escaping. They know where he is. They've got their eyes on him, and they want to make sure they've got an airtight case. The most important thing is to get it done right, not to get it done fast. And once you make the arrest, then that speedy trial clock starts ticking. So they're getting all the evidence, even though it clearly points to just one person here. And if you're going to commit a crime, if you do it on a cruise ship, you got to be really stupid, because a cruise ship may be one of the worst places, because there are thousands of potential witnesses on that ship. You're in a tight, confined space. You've got surveillance cameras everywhere. You've got access cards where people know where you're going. So I think this thing is headed towards an arrest, although I can't say exactly when.
Because even the grandparents, when they spoke to ABC News, they said that surveillance video only shows one other person going into that stateroom, and it was the 16-year-old stepbrother of Anna Kepner. For as many cameras as there are on a Carnival cruise ship, there aren't cameras in the stateroom, so we don't know what the back and forth is that potentially happened that led to her death, though, according to ABC, that she died by strangulation. What type of evidence do you need as a prosecutor when you're putting together the story of what happened inside that room that you would need to make an arrest?
Well, you don't need motive to make an arrest, although jurors always want to know the why. So means, motive, opportunity are all important. But for a prosecutor, you just want the evidence that shows this is the person who did it. And unlike police, who only need probable cause to make an arrest, that's a really low burden. Prosecutors have a responsibility only to file charges when they have a good faith belief they can get a conviction beyond a reasonable doubt. So we're talking a much higher burden. So that's one reason why I think you haven't seen an arrest yet, because they just want to make sure they got the access cards. They want to know that he was the person who was entering the room late at night. There's surveillance.
The guy that's talking right now. I agree that, and also that cruise ship don't stop for crimes. Like, I was told that they got to get on the ship and do their investigating while the cruise ship is moving. So that's what I heard, that they don't stop. They keep right on a booking it, because they've got guests that have scheduled time. But what about the guests that had that schedule, that room? Oh, hell no. I would not stay in that room. So the lady upstairs passed away in June. Oh, the lady upstairs passed away in June, and her daughters, they wanted the apartment, so they signed a lease with the landlord. But now the older sister had bought a house, and now they all want to live together, which is understandable. And my landlord I take all the applications, and we decide who's gonna rent. And I'm like, Melanie, I don't know who would want to live up there. Like, no, I would never. I won't even go in the apartment. So that just goes to show how scared I am of stuff like that. Like, if I knew and I was on a ship and I knew somebody had passed away in there, I'd be mad. I'd ask for a new room. That's how serious my anxiety is. Them ghosts ain't coming to get me. Nope.
Video. They're looking for any witnesses. They were going to look for DNA and fingerprints on the body. They're going to look at everything. Also, I think that they want the cause of death. Now, there were reports that the medical examiner did rule it a homicide, and as far as the manner of death, by asphyxiation. That's also really important for prosecutors. They want to know for sure that it was a homicide, not a suicide, not an accident. And they also would like to know the manner of death, so it can only point to the person who was in the room with the victim at the time, and apparently there's only one person.
There was a report that came out from Fox News I saw. There was a report that came out that said that her body had been cremated because it's been turned over to the funeral home up in Titusville, Florida, and they had a memorial service last week. From an evidence standpoint, is that any sort of, I know this is kind of a morbid question, but now that the body, according to this report, no longer exists, like, is that an issue for prosecutors in figuring out this case?
Well, it's not ideal, but as long as the medical examiner was able to do a full review before the body was cremated, it is okay. The prosecutors can use that evidence. Now, where it could come into play is that the defense may make hay over it, say, we weren't given access to the body and it was cremated by the stepmother when we're representing the son here, and they could try to make a stink about it. But I think that because the medical examiner did his full review, this happens a lot where the bodies are cremated, and so defense lawyers can try to make a claim out of it, but I don't think that's their best argument. Ideally, you would have everyone get access to the body so that they could all do their tests, but that's not the real world. In the real world, things like this happen.
For this 16-year-old stepbrother of Anna Kepner, and he's, it was his own family who said that he was a suspect in her.
See what I was saying with the Breasia Terrell case? The medical examiner kept her remains until the case came to a conclusion, which I think is the smartest thing to do. Because what if a question were to come about and they needed that body? In Florida, you don't have to disclose that somebody passed away in the apartment unless they ask. Yeah, you don't have to here in Iowa either. But I think in California there is a clause in their thing, in their rental agreements, that they have to. Or no, when they're buying the home, I think. When they're buying the home. Oh, but I ask. Oh, anytime I rent an apartment, I ask, did somebody by chance pass away here? Because nope, I won't live there. I won't. Nope.
Death, and then you have the grandparents laying out that he was the only one to go into the room where Anna Kepner was eventually found dead. He's 16 years old. If he is charged in connection to her death, whatever that charge may be, how likely is it that he would be tried as an adult?
Very likely. The decision, since this is federal court, is up to the prosecutor to make that proposal, that it's adult court, not juvenile court, and then it's up to the judge to approve it. There's much more discretion in state court for prosecutors. The state court, if this were a state case, the prosecutor would say, okay, we're filing this in adult court. Less discretion for the judge. In federal court, the judge has more discretion. But in a case like this, where the potential defendant is 16 and there's a murder, it's almost certainly going to be in adult court, because if it's not, then the juvenile system only retains jurisdiction up to age 21. So you could prosecute him and you could have him incarcerated in a juvenile facility until 21, and then he walks free. That's not ideal in any circumstance. So he will most likely be prosecuted in adult court. He can get a blend of juvenile and adult sanctions, but adult court is very different than juvenile court. Adult court is based on punishment, whereas juvenile court is based on rehabilitation.
And if he's 16, I mean, what does the timeline look like? Is there a possibility that if he was, in...
Do you think that they're going to try to get this in juvenile court? How much you want to bet they're trying to get this and keep it in a juvenile court because they feel he can be rehabilitated? Because it was a one-time incident. It was isolated. I would be so mad.
And we haven't even gotten to the point where he's been charged, and if that happens. But let's just say a 16-year-old is charged with a very serious crime in connection to a death. What does the timeline look like in a federal system, in federal court to get the trial? Is there a possibility that he would actually be 18 at the time of the trial? Does that factor into a decision of whether or not someone could be charged in adult court?
Well, the age does matter. As far as if he were 12 or 13 or 14, it would be different for the prosecutors and for the judge. but because he's 16 and this crime is as serious as it gets, that's all they need to know. It's very likely to be an adult court. Also, if it is in juvenile court, they have a speedy trial rule, which makes it very hard. If you're a juvenile, you've got to be brought to trial within 30 days. If you invoke speedy trial for an adult, you have a lot more time. You've got at least 70 days, and so there are so many advantages to prosecutors if this is an adult court, which it will be.
And for you as a former prosecutor, and I know again that this is in taking place in the federal system because it was on a cruise ship, but what are the conversations like between the prosecutor and the investigator where they probably come to you and say, hey, we have enough to charge this person. What more would you need? What are those conversations like, the back and forth in these moments before an arrest is made?
This is the stuff behind the scenes that the public is largely unaware of. You don't, but sometimes you'll see it on TV shows where you have sometimes disputes where you'll have the cops say, all right, we got enough, we're going to make an arrest. And the prosecutor's like, do not make the arrest because we need more. And the cop's like, I've got enough for probable cause. And the prosecutor's like, no, we need more to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt. And so in the state system, we will send the cops a letter saying, I know that you have sent us this case.
Unfortunately, I will never own my own home. I'm sad, but it's okay. So in the meantime, I have to ask if somebody's passed away.
But we are rejecting it until you give us more information. Give me more video, a witness, DNA, something else. Now, the cops on their own could make a probable cause arrest. They could just arrest them instead of waiting for prosecutors. But then that will hurt the relationship between the two because it makes life so much tougher for prosecutors when you've got a case now, the speedy trial clock is ticking, and you've got to do the investigation when it's eating into your trial prep time. You want the investigation to be done before you prep for trial. And so this is a give and take that happens all the time behind the scenes.
And when it comes to Anna Kepner's family, and every family is different, and if there's, divorce involved, blended families can get very complicated. But in this case, it seems like you have a lot of people and a lot of different narratives about what the relationship was between Anna Kepner and this 16-year-old stepbrother. The grandparents say they were two peas in a pod. Then you have Anna Kepner's ex-boyfriend saying that she was actually scared of him. You have this custody hearing that's been ongoing between Anna Kepner's stepmom and her ex-husband related to the 16-year-old. How does all of that impact an investigation into whether or not she is the victim of a homicide as what's being reported?
I saw the comments, I think, from the grandparents about, two peas in a pod. We're a blended family, but no different than a real family, and everyone loves each other, and it's all, roses and peaches and stuff. But in reality, life gets in the way. I mean, in reality, it looks like there were issues here. The ex-boyfriend said that this stepbrother would act inappropriately around Anna and climbed on top of her one time when they were FaceTiming with each other, and there was real tension. And yet they were allowed to stay in the same room on this cruise ship, and then this happened. So there are going to be a lot of questions as to whether the stepmother here did something to enable activities and whether she crossed the line into criminal conduct. Did she obstruct justice? Did she become an accessory after the fact? And so I think perhaps one of the reasons why you see this investigation going slowly is because they're not just investigating the young man here, but also his mother and her involvement. And she seems to know that, which is why she did what she did in the family law hearing. She took the fifth, or she said she was going to take the fifth. So she was under the microscope as well. So this family dynamic is really important here because also jurors want to know the why. Even though motive is not an element in a murder case, jurors want to know, why'd you do it? Why did a 16-year-old kill his sister, and that is going to be important to flesh out.
Oh, and I know her attorney in this family hearing said she was cleared in that investigation, and we don't, know if that's true. We'll see, when it comes to the FBI in terms of the stepmom. But I also think if there were these concerns that it seems like people outside of the family dynamic had about the relationship between Anna and her stepbrother, where the ex-boyfriend clearly thought that there was something going on that was concerning in that relationship, and yet she is staying in the same stateroom as this 16-year-old. Is there any possibility that that becomes something that someone could be charged with if there's evidence that they had somewhat of a concerning relationship?
Yeah, it reminds me of the Madeline Soto case. That's the one out of Orlando. I know that you had followed as well, where the mother allowed the sleazy boyfriend to sleep in the same bed as the underage daughter. Here, if the mother knew that there were issues between the two and there was attempted sexual assault and yet allowed them to stay in the same room together and made them stay in the same room together, could that mother be charged? Yes, that's why even though the lawyer says there's no there, I don't think that the cops are just going to exclude someone that quickly, especially as the evidence continues to come in. So will the mother ever be charged? I don't know. The mother of the Madeline Soto case was never charged, but I do think it's worth looking at, and I'm sure the cops are.
And then just lastly, I think of this interview that the grandparents gave.
I would bet money they are going to try and get it in juvenile court, but they're going to fail. I feel they're going to keep it in. I just have this weird feeling that's why they put him in that hospital, to have a doctor say that this was a one-time incident. He's not a serial killer. He's not a murderer. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was a reason behind this. The lawyer, when they were on that ship, that mother was calling her lawyer and getting details about what to do. You're right, Cindy, when you said it earlier. The lawyer knew what to do to keep this in juvenile court. I bet you money too.
To ABC News. And as someone in the media, like I like getting exclusive interviews. Like that's, part of our job to find information and help tell the story. But I think of the FBI and how quiet they've been. And then there's that moment that, hey, the grandparents just spoke to ABC and they say that the stepson told them he doesn't remember anything that happened inside of the room. And I also think potentially for a defense, if it goes that direction, that's now out in the media that he apparently told family members that he didn't remember what happened. What do you make of that? And then I guess as a prosecutor, former prosecutor, and you're, if for someone who's an FBI agent, what is that moment like when you look at your phone and you realize that the people who maybe you interviewed, maybe pass some information along because they're a family that's grieving, ends up going to the media and gives this interview?
The FBI hates that because they want to keep everything buttoned up. They're not talking, and when this is out in the media, then there are expectations that everyone's like, okay, why aren't you making an arrest? More pressure on the FBI. Plus, it alerts the suspect that the walls are closing in, and then you've got to keep your eyes on the suspect because now you have evidence into the public that really points to guilt here. I mean, talk about consciousness of guilt. I don't remember what happened that night that she died. What do you mean you don't remember? Wouldn't that be something you would remember when the person, your stepsister who was sharing your small cabin, ends up dead and put under the bed, and you say, I don't remember anything? Well, that's bizarre. And the fact that the grandparents are talking, I'm sure that the FBI probably went back to the lawyers who are representing the family saying, not a good idea to talk to the press, because the FBI has all this information, and they haven't made an arrest yet in this case, but that day is coming. And the more that the grandparents and others talked, it doesn't help the cause for the defendant, but also the FBI is also probably thinking, let's keep this buttoned up for now.
And we'll see what happens next. Just a very sad case, of course, also.
I agree, because you haven't heard the grandparents or anybody talk since then. So they're holding the fort down until there's an arrest, possibly, for Anna Kepner. Well, I'm afraid that that's all I have for today. I could say so much more, but I don't want to lose my channel quite yet. And I just, rest in peace to Anna. She should have never, ever had to go out this way, unfortunately. And now her life is a spectacle for all news people, allegedly, in my opinion. So I will leave out with Anna's video if I can play it. Because I'm going to get struck for it anyways. But that's okay. Rest in peace to Anna. And hopefully you are on your thank you. And I hope Anna is on her forever cruise up in heaven. And she will always and forever be on that cruise. All right. You have a wonderful night. Stay safe. And I'll see you in the morning for the Brian Walsh trial. Have a good night. Bye-bye.